So change is inevitable and participation is optional. So yes, we can choose to whether participate in these changes or not. However, I think, some not all changes are good changes. So Sonia and Ala know me, but I will introduce myself a little bit. I am, my name is Saraf, and I'm the director of technology here. So I manage all of their technology, everybody's technology system. So any agent that has any questions about either our CRMs or either like even just tangentially related to real estate, like if they want help on their Excel or they want help with their planning documents and stuff, like I am able to provide them with that guidance because I am a realtor, so I know what, sometimes even with the language barriers, I know exactly what they want because I want the same thing. I also manage some people's websites, and I'm able to help them with like their marketing or setting up, lead capture systems and things that I will talk about later. And yeah, like I'm welcome. Thank you for coming. No worries. We're just getting started. I was just introducing myself. I'm a realtor as well as the director of technology here. So I help all of our agents and outside agents as well with Realm or any of the technology systems that that you guys would need. So what exactly are online leads, right? So online leads are leads. Actually, you know what? Before we move on to online leads, what are leads, right? Does anyone want to answer that question? If you want to put up your hand. So what we mean by a lead is somebody that has shown some kind of interest in either real estate or investing, right? And that's, I mean, it should technically be everybody because everybody needs a home, even if they're leasing or whatever, right? Lease clients turn into buyer clients eventually, right? Most people are not gonna, like, a lot of people are not gonna be renting the rest of their whole lives. So whether it's leasing, buying, or selling, everybody needs some kind of, like, everybody has some kind of real estate needs, right? So leads are just that. There are somebody who you think will have a need for a home. So which is, it technically should be everybody, but obviously not everybody is going to be doing their business with you. So our job is to take the people who may or may not do business with you and to get them to do business with you. So online leads are different from regular leads because I don't know why I set it up this way, but basically you guys can see all of it. Online leads are, well, these are the three main ones. I'm sure there's like more different ways, but so who here has seen like social media ads? Show of hands, right? Social media ads with like videos and it says, click here to learn more or something. So that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I put Twitter there, but I was trying to put Instagram anyway. So, and TikTok mainly, because people are like, these are great platforms to run ads on because everybody is on social media, whether they're actually posting or not. Like everybody has a social media account just to like, if they're scrolling or they're browsing or looking at funny videos or pictures or jokes or something. So regardless, like most people are on social media in some way, shape, or form. So paid, like that's why social media has created a platform for us to like post ads, right? It's like the newspaper of, like, we don't read newspapers anymore. We go to social media for like general, I don't want to say news, but that is a lot of the time what happens, right? Like, I mean, I see something on social media and then I will go do my independent research on it. But yeah, usually the first place that I hear about something is on social media, right? It's a great tool for spreading news for some reason, even though the information might not be accurate. So I always insist that you do your own research. However, it is a good place. It's like a lead, right? It's like a lead for actual information. And then lead aggregators. Does everybody know what a lead aggregator is? Show of hands. So a lead aggregator is basically a company that will generate leads for you. Most of the time, these companies, like they say that they give you warm leads because their job is to do what an inside sales agent does. That's basically like qualify the leads for you. So somebody clicks on an ad or somebody calls in and then they ask them questions like, hey, how long ago did you move? How are you interested in buying a house in the next like 60 days or in the next 5 years or whatever? And according to how warm that lead is, that's when they will pass it on to an agent. So these are, there's a company called RoomView. This is sort of more of a social media based company. So they will advertise on your behalf. Like they'll run videos and posts that sort of like they'll have informative articles or videos on your behalf. So you're paying them, I think it's usually like, the lowest package is $700 a month, and then it goes up to like 1,500, 2K, depending on like how the quality of posts that you're looking for. And then we have, this is Market Leader. This isn't a social media based company. This is more, they promise to give you 8 to 10 like warm leads a month. Their starting costs are $1,400 and they go up and up depending on if you want. So the catch is like 8 to 10 warm leads does not necessarily mean buying or selling. It could be like lease leads and stuff. So you pay more if you want specifically like buyers and seller leads, right? But it's still pretty good. Like even if you're, so out of those 8 to 10 leads, if you're able to do 2 leases, then you've already made your money back, right? Or you've made profit actually, based on how expensive leases are nowadays. But and then the third, and I find this to be the most effective of the 3, but again, honestly, all methods are as effective as how well you're working them. So again, it's like they can give you 8 to 10 warm leads, but if you're not following up with them, then you're not going to make any money, right? You still have to call those leads and you have to follow up with them, and like your conversation with them is gonna be what gets you to like close those leads. So with search engine ads, this is when you're advertising on Google, Amazon, Wikipedia, or Yahoo, or like basically search engines are where you're doing research on like things that you type and then it gives you some stuff. So that's a search engine. And you'll see when you search on Google, you'll see the first 2 or 3 things that you see are sponsored. So that means somebody has paid to do that advertising, right? So I'll talk a little bit
the most expensive, I believe, right?
No, I think the lead aggregators are the most expensive. Again, depending on how much, like, so technically you can spend $5,000 on even social media ads. Do I think it's recommended or required? No, but that's, you know, like if you have a $5 million GCI, like gross commission of the year, maybe $5,000 a month is not anything to you and you're happy to spend that money. But essentially, I do think the lead aggregators are the most expensive. I think search engine ads are the second most expensive, and then the social media ads are the cheapest. However, think about why that is, because they're very saturated, right? So it's like, if you want to see some results on the social media ads, you might want to spend a little bit more money. So I'll talk about how that works. So I'm just going to recap. I share this slide on every one of my presentations just to, you know, refresh that as real estate agents, we are doing like every real estate agent's business is based around these 5 principles. So that's the number one is always lead generation. That's where online leads comes in, because this is just another form of lead generation. So instead of going door knocking or cold calling, you are paying money to get people to reach, like to get people's information. However, you still have to do the last 4, which is lead follow-up. You still have to follow up with those leads, and then make secure, like book and secure appointments, as well as try to get a contract signed with them. And the last, but definitely not least, if I think I made the writing small, but scripts and role play are not to be ignored, because it's these are very important. It's like, it's not like riding a bike. Like, you do want to be practicing your scripts and role play on a daily, weekly basis. Hi, Christopher.
Hello.
Because you want to stay sharp on your objection handling, right? So you don't want to be put in a position where somebody asks you a question and you're like, let me check or whatever. Obviously, there's going to be some questions that you have to check, but I say, like, if you're short on time, I say put more emphasis on the objection handling rather than memorizing the listing that you're showing them. You know, like anybody can read things off of an MLS listing form. They also know this information as well. They can look it up themselves. What they don't know are the negotiation strategies, or when is the best time, or how to make an offer, or things like that, or why this place is priced so low, or, you know, that's a question that I get, which is wild, but or actually, the number one question I get, or the number one objection I get is, oh, I know so many realtors, why should I work with you, right? And and the second most answered asked question is the commission split, right? So I will go over some of the ways that I handle these objections, but let's go over understanding how online ads work. So the first thing when you're putting up an ad, you have to understand your target audience, right? So you have to identify who you have to ask yourself some questions, because you want to ask yourself why you're running this ad. Well, okay, that's obvious. You want leads and you want to make money, but you want to identify exactly who you're targeting. So before everybody got here, I was talking to the ladies about how when I go door knocking, it's not the people, like I tell everybody that I'm a realtor, and if you're interested in buying or selling, or if you know anybody, please let me know or call me, here's my card. But what actually gets them to call me back is when I'm able to connect with them on a personal level, right? So everybody knows a lot of realtors, especially in Toronto. I think we have double the number of realtors as New York City, and New York City has like triple, quadruple our population or something. So there's too many realtors. Like, yes, we know this. So how do we get people to actually transact with us, that's when you're making a personal connection. So find something that where your interests align with the person that you're talking to, and like talk about that. Like they already know you're a realtor. They already know that, yes, if they're interested in buying or selling, they'll call you. Like they've heard this script a million times. What they haven't heard is, oh my God, your kid is reminds me of my kid, or our kids go to the same school, or oh my God, like I have that same top in purple, or whatever your interests are. The second is obviously captivating content. So you want to make sure your content is something that grabs the attention. I think especially like the younger people are, the shorter their attention span is. And I think like marketing trends have shown that most people's attention span is 5 to 7 seconds. So when you do put out like a social media video or something, or like in this case, like when you're putting out an ad, especially if it's a video, you want to make sure that the first 5 to 7 seconds is the hook, is what we call it. The third is you want to make sure that you have a method of capturing leads. So you want to have like some kind of form, or like something where you're tracking when they're clicking, or something like that, where it actually gets their name, email, and phone number, or phone number. And then the fourth and most important thing is your follow-up. Like your follow-up, again, is going to be what makes or breaks your deal. So if you don't have, this is actually the most important. So it's like, if you're not following up consistently with them, you're like the other three it's like you've wasted your money. Like don't waste your money on social media ads unless you're planning on like following up with these people. It's the same thing as door knocking. Like I go door knocking and I get a bunch of people's numbers, but unless I'm consistently calling them like on a monthly basis or bi-weekly, whatever, like you don't want to call them too much and overwhelm them and have them block your number, but you do want to follow up with them enough so they actually remember who you are, and that you're catching them on, I'll explain like the follow-up thing, but basically, unless you're actually following up with your leads, the other three are moot points, like they don't matter, and you're wasting your money. So going further into it, does everybody know what a lead capture form is? Basically, a lead capture form is it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a form that asks somebody to fill out their name, email, and phone number. That's it. I put website and landing page in there because a lot of website builders, like you don't have to know coding or anything. A lot of website builders will allow you to create landing pages that have like forms like this, where you can ask people to put in their information if they want you to contact them, or if they want more details or what have you. So interests and keywords are how search engines are, actually even social media ads, like that's how they are presenting, showing the ads to other people. So for instance, I put out an ad about cats. I have cats, I like cats, but so it's gonna make sure that it's gonna show the ad to people who have interest in cats. So it's not gonna show the ad to people who are dog people, right? So because again, it's in everybody's best interest. Like you're paying social media or search engines, so you're paying Facebook or Google to run these ads for you, and you're not going to continue to run these ads unless you're getting leads from them. And you're not going to get any leads unless people are clicking on them. And people are not going to click on the ads if they're not interested, right? So Facebook and Google, they track everybody's activity. Have you guys ever run into something called cookies? When you go onto websites that says accept all cookies or manage cookies or something, So although cookies are delicious, that's not what they're talking about. Cookies are a way that search engines and social medias platforms track your activity. So it's like a digital chip. So it's not really tracking your information like your birth date or what. I mean, it probably does, but that's not the information they're looking for. They're tracking your behavior. They're tracking what websites you visit. So if you visited, I don't know, websites that sell baby clothes or, toys or for children or something, it's most likely going to suggest ads that have like, hey, are you pregnant or something, right? So sometimes you might think like, oh my God, it's so creepy. Like, how did it know that I was pregnant? I didn't tell anybody, or I didn't share it on social media and stuff. It's like, yeah, because it was tracking your activity from the websites that you were visiting. Same thing, I get a lot of gardening ads and a lot of ads about cats because those are my interests. And sorry, yeah.
So what is your advice to decline all cookies, or what would be your advice?
Honestly, I usually accept all the cookies because I want to see things that interest me. Like, I don't really want, like, because so at the end of the day, unfortunately, you're going to see ads whether you like it or not. So I might as well at least see ads about things that I'm interested in. Right. So I tried it because I'm like, oh, these ads are so annoying. So I like report the ads and I'm like, oh, it's spam, it's repetitive or whatever and stuff. And then I just get presented with different ads. So I might as well, like, I do accept all the cookies because I might as well be presented with ads that I actually care about or am interested in rather than ads that have like nothing to do with my general interest. So interest and keywords are they track your interests by tracking the keywords. So like when you're searching for some keywords, like, oh, if I look up cat toys or gardening tools, then like those are the key words. And then that lets them know that my interests are cats and gardening. Yes, I'm a very boring person.
Cookies from the website or from the Google, where are they coming from?
So cookies are digital chips. So once you click on accept all cookies, that digital chip will sort of follow you around. So let's say you went to website A and like you accepted the cookies. So now that cookie will follow you to the next website that you go to and the next website and the next website. So now if you've like, obviously not every single thing I look up is about cats and gardens. It's more, they're analyzing your
Chrome or Google, where is it coming?
So Google has a pixel and Google and Facebook have pixels. I don't know what Bing uses, but they also have, like, basically every search engine or social media platform has different forms of it, but they all do the same thing. The function is the same. So it just tracks your activity. And it is a little creepy, but again, they're not sharing your information with people. They're using it to show you ads that you might like and therefore actually click on, and therefore like the people who are paying them to run these ads will actually sell their products, right? So that's basically what I'm going to show. Like, that's how you generate online leads. So you're all realtors. You would run ads about like, listing ads are a little bit backdated, but sure, still run, if you're running a listing ad, an ad about a listing that you have or an open house, it is going to show it to people who have previously shown interest in these fields. And it doesn't necessarily mean they've specifically looked up like open house or new listings. It will show it to people who have looked up things like renovation or architecture or how to sell your home or things like, like it understands what tangentially related interests are. So again, like when I search for my cats and my gardens, I'm not specifically looking at, I don't search for cat toys. I'll usually look up like, I don't know, vets, you know, like maybe because my pet is having an issue, and I looked up vets near me, right? So obviously I wouldn't be looking up vets unless I had some kind of cat or dog pet. So now it's going to show me ads for cat toys, right? So it's not an exact science, but it is like they are taking analytics. So obviously, if I looked something up just the one time and I never looked up anything related to that, then they're most likely not gonna register that because it's a numbers game, right? So if it also the way that social media pixels work, so the way that Facebook's cookies work and the way that Google's cookies work are different. They're yeah.
Right, so we're talking about all these interesting keywords in relation to buying a sponsored ad, so that we too can be part of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so how I'm explaining how it works so that you can use it to your advantage when you're running your ads, right? So I'll move on. It'll become a little bit more clear when I'll give you some examples. So for instance, this is exactly what I was gonna get to. The way that the Facebook pixel works is not, because you're not really searching anything on Facebook a lot of the time, like unless you're searching things on Marketplace, but I rarely do because it's usually sketchy people. But it's when you're like browsing like pictures or videos and things like that, or posts, or you're liking things. Let's say you see 5 videos and you're scrolling, and that's why I say the first 5 to 7 seconds is the most important, because you're not gonna stop, you're gonna stop on the thing that attracts your attention the most in those 5, the first few seconds when you're like scrolling, and then you see, oh, that's a really nice house. So if you're interested in selling, that's where you're gonna stop, right? So you see a video about cars, okay, not interested. You see a video about makeup, maybe you're kind of interested, but then you still scroll past because you guys are all stunningly beautiful and don't need any makeup. And then you scroll one more time, and then you see an ad about a house. You're gonna stop at that ad because you're interested in, you're interested. So that's how it registers your interests. So that's why I put interests and keywords, because search engines use keywords. That's like when you're searching things, and social media is using your interests. And they register these interests by the amount of time that you spend on like watching a video. Does anybody have a professional social media account? Business accounts, right? Not like, I don't think, hopefully. I'm definitely not a professional. I have like less than 500 followers or something, but I do have a business account, and the business account will actually allow you to see metrics. So that's how long people are watching your video on average, right? So it'll tell you that, okay, so 90% of people are watching your video for 3 seconds before they're moving on. That should tell you that maybe your video is not very interesting. However, now you are noticing that there is about 10% of people who you are retaining the interest for, right? So those are the people that you would target. Yeah. So that's when you guys see the verified sticker beside people's names. So that's like, I think it's $30 a month or something, and you pay for that service. But I think it's useful. It's useful metrics that you can kind of use. And it does definitely tell me that how well my content is doing. I've also noticed, not noticed, this is actually a proven fact that like obviously videos are a lot more engaging than static posts. Informative posts are very, very, that's why you'll see some posts, even if they're static, they'll make the text like really small and stuff. So you have to like look at it for a long time to be able to read it, or you have to like, while you're on it, you're like, oh, I gotta get my glasses, or like, oh, I have to look at this. I have to like save this and send it to myself so I can look at it on the desktop. So they're tracking all this activity, and all this activity tells them that you're interested in this post. These are some of the tips and tricks that like all the influencers use. You'll also see a lot of videos where it tells you, it says, don't do this until you've done these 5 things. And then it says more in the caption. And it's actually just like a really simplistic video of like literally somebody like sipping on their coffee or brushing their hair. And it's a 3-second video that's on loop. And they do this so that you will take the time to read the caption, and while you're reading the caption, the video is running, like replaying over and over again in the background. And that's the metrics, like it's telling Facebook that you've now watched. One of the metrics is also how many times people have repeated your videos, like basically how many times the same person has watched your video. And that's one of the metrics. So it's like, that's how they get you to do it, by putting all the information in the captions and putting like a 3 to 5 second video that's just looping in the background while you're reading the captions for the actual information, right? These are some tips and tricks of ways you can get your metrics up and trick the algorithm into thinking that people are interested in your content, whether they are or not. So, that's how Facebook works. So they do this. Obviously, they're not going to show you ads. They do geo-targeting. So your phone is tracking your location at most times, especially like, I think when you first sign up to the app, it asks you whether you consent for the app to allow it to track your location. But most of the time, it's like, I can't even remember when I downloaded Facebook. It must have been years ago. And, as long as you clicked on it once, like 5 years ago, it will continuously track your location. So it's most likely not going to show you an ad that's meant for like, that's for like Alaska or Calgary or something. It's going to show you ads that pertain to the GTA. So interests, that's where I was talking about, that primarily used with paid social ads. You're targeting a group of people with common interests like golf or boating. So I guess, wow, this was definitely written by a man, but it's how do they, like, that's how they know that you're interested in golf or boating, because they've collected a lot of information on what people are, on what people enjoy and are interested. The visuals can be, so that way it's like, if you're advertising on social media, whatever your ad is about, before you post, it will kind of ask you some questions like, hey, which interests of people do you want to target? Like, what is your video about, kind of thing. If you fill out that form correctly, it will only show you, not only, but it will try to mostly show your ads to people who are actually interested in that stuff. So demographics is another, that's why I was talking about making sure that you understand your target audience. So I'm a millennial, so my target audience is other millennials mostly, and they are starting to buy homes now. So I advertise myself as the tech-savvy realtor who's going to make sure that everything is paperless or something like that. Like, just however you like, pick something that you're good at and make sure, like, advertise that about yourself, so that you're targeting people who actually are, who align with those interests. So that goes into your custom target audience. And then keywords that's what I was talking about with the search engine ads. So the way that the Google ads work is, this is how they show up. So when you search, the search is how to sell my home fast. And the ads are showing sell as is, pay 0 fees, dozens of offers within 14 days. So as you can see that they have taken the keyword sell and they've used it to add a bunch of other things like sell as is with 0 fees, 14 days or less or something. So they've understood their audience, right? So whoever put this ad has definitely understood their audience, and they understand that people, what people are looking for when they're trying to sell their home, right? They want to sell with no fees and they want to sell as fast as possible. I don't suggest charging no commission, but you can definitely advertise that because the way that, like, so you want to put a hook in that, you know, how many times have you guys clicked on something or saw like, oh, free something, but then you go in and it's like, oh, no, it's, you have to buy or you have to sign up with them in order to qualify for this like 10% off or this free thing, or whenever you go somewhere where it's like, oh, it's half price Tuesdays or something, it's usually because it's their like lowest selling items and it's not something that you actually want to buy, but it's something to draw you in so that you now, it's like it's to get your foot in the door, right? Everyone knows what that means. Like basically it's just to make sure that they get some kind of commitment from you. And then once you're committed, it's hard to like back out, right? So maybe you might just like go through it. That's how sales works. So the 3 things that you want to keep in mind when, and like this works for all leads, but specifically online leads, is because a lot of people, okay, especially with social media ads, like it is very saturated, right? So yes, you're running a social media ad, but so is, so is everyone else, right? Because they're quite cost effective. Like you can run a social media ad for as little as like 20 bucks or something, and it'll run the ad for like 3 days straight or something. Like it's a very cost effective way to get some leads. However, the people, like when you're scrolling on social media, it's like you're watching hundreds, if not thousands of videos a day. You know, like I scroll on social media periodic, like I'm sitting at my lunch and I'm like eating my lunch and I'm scrolling through. In half an hour, I've probably consumed over 100 videos or something if I'm spending the entire 30 minutes like scrolling through videos. So if they've clicked on your ad, most likely they've clicked on another ad as well. So the number 1 thing you want to do is speed to lead, which means you want to call them as soon as you get the lead, or as soon as obviously humanly possible. Don't crash your car or anything. But you're 25 times more likely to get that client if you're the first one to call them, right? So let's say they've clicked on 5 different ads. If you're the first person to call them, you're most likely going to get their business over the other 5 people who maybe take an hour or 5 hours or however long to call. The second thing is obviously the mastery of the conversations. That's why scripting is so important. You want to stay on top, you want to stay sharp, and you want to stay on top of your scripting and your objection handling, right? You want to know how to answer every single question that they're going to have, right? And the only way you do that is through, like, there's no way to anticipate. I can tell you all the questions that they're going to have, but I guarantee you they're going to have one that I didn't tell you, right? Because obviously people are unpredictable, right? So the only way, obviously it doesn't, even if you're not able to answer every single one of their questions, you might still get their business as long as you're able to answer most of their questions. If you want to be able to answer more questions than questions that you're not able to answer, right? Let's say they ask 5 questions. If you're able to answer 4 of them and the last one you say, okay, you know what? That's one thing I didn't think about. I'm going to look into that and get back to you, right? And make sure you actually get back to them. But that's fine, but make sure that it's not, you can only answer 1 question and you can't answer 4 of the questions that they have, kind of thing. And then that takes me to the third point, which is consistency over time. So when you say that I'll get back to you, make sure you actually do get back to them, because they might not even remember the question that they had. But what they'll remember is the fact that you remember. You know, like you want them to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that, you know? That's what, like, you want that reaction, because that's what is gonna click in their head, that, oh my God, this person really cares about me, or they're, one of two things. Either they're gonna think that you care very much about them and you have excellent customer service, or they're gonna think that, oh my God, this person remembered because they're also interested in the same thing. Like, let's say they asked a question that's not even related to real estate, and they just asked something that's that has something to do with their own interest. Like, hey, do you know where the best schools are? Or like, do you know if this is a good school or not? And then you say, hey, so I don't know, but let me look into that, because I'm actually also wondering, because I also have children and I would also want to know if it's a good school. And then if you actually get back to them, whether they might think that you care about them, but they might also think, oh, my interests align with this person, because that's why they've gotten back to me and looked into it, right? So either way, it's good. Like, both things are positive. But essentially, yeah. So speed to lead, you want to answer as soon as possible. You want to make sure you're handling all your objections, and that you're getting back to them and consistently following up with them. So one of the things that I like to use when I'm sort of creating an ad is the DISC model. So that's, everybody falls into one or more of these sort of qualities. And again, it's not an exact science, it's a numbers game. You want to target 100 people. So let's say without this model, I'm able to reach out to 10 people. With this model, I'm able to reach out to 30. So it doesn't mean you're going to reach 100 people, 100% of the people, but this will definitely increase your chances. So basically, the D stands for people who are dominant. So that's people who are very direct and they don't like the fluff. So if you're talking to them about a house, they don't like to hear the nitty-gritty stuff. They just want to know, okay, so what's the price? Or what's the location? What's, like, you know, they just want to know the main points. How much down payment do I need? They don't care. They're like, they don't care about the details, if that makes sense. Like, they want the big picture. They want the a summary rather than like every little, like a breakdown. They learn by doing things rather than like researching, I guess. I stands for influential. So these are people who they are interested in some of the details, however, not the details that you're thinking about. That is C. So influential people would be more interested in the details that are not related to metrics. So they're more interested in the story of the house, right? So they're interested in something that is, did you know that this was the first house on this block that had the crown molding? Or I don't think that's real, but you know what I'm saying, like basically, oh, did you know that this was the first house that had a red roof? All the other houses have gray roofs. And these, you know, they're interested in things like details, but these types of details. The compliant are the people, C stands for compliant, and these are the people who are interested in the nitty-gritty details. So like, when was the house built? How long has it been on the market? What's the market? How does the market relate to this one? What interest rates, blah, blah, blah. Like all the really, really nitty-gritty details. I mean, those are not even nitty-gritty details, but I hope I'm making my point across. So the last is steady. They are looking for stability, so, and support. So they are basically looking for somebody they can trust. So they, if you're showing a house to somebody with an S personality, you want to tell them that, you know, like I've got it taken care of. I'm here to support you. You can call me anytime. I'm, I'm, I'm gonna be there for you. You know, I definitely care about your personal well-being, and I want to make sure that I'm taking care of these things for you. Like they want that support and trust. So, you know, that's just a little bit about how, and obviously, like, so all the things that I've mentioned, it's like most people are not one of these things. Most people are a combination of two or even three things. It's more about what is, let's say they might be 70, they might be a combination of dominant and compliant. However, they're gonna be like, it's gonna be a percentage. So like maybe they're 70% dominant and 30% compliant or reverse, right? So obviously, so how do you know these numbers? Is you would track, right? So you would keep track and log all your, like, not your conversations, but basically your, so when you're running ads, you do, I will go into this a little bit later. It's, I think it's almost time to take a break. So basically, I'm gonna be, after the intermission, I'm gonna talk about passive versus active lead generation when it comes to online leads. So let's head for an intermission. I'm gonna refill my coffee and run to little girl's room. And it's a great time to think of some questions if you have any.
Check the page, but I'm not sure. Maybe ask the secretary anything. But this one is coffee, yeah? Yeah, no, she wants water. Hey, drink coffee, cheaper. Easier. Yeah.
Like hot water. Okay. Just there is hot water here, or we'll try water. For sure. I think someone. Does anybody here run online leads or like run ads or anything?
I don't pay, but sometimes I do advertise for myself.
Sure. Like as in, like just posting on social media and
Yeah.
stuff? Yeah, that's a great way to do it as well, because so I'll talk about that. There's a reason why social media manager is, or social media, like specialist or something is a real job, because it is a full time. Or like it's a very, like it takes, do you post like videos and stuff? Or
And
regular
you
posts?
know, my background is from the other country, not from Canada.
Sure.
And we have in social media the big groups,
Mhm.
and I advertise them. And when I advertise a listing, I get a few calls or message. But for the information, no, I think they read it. And
That's good. So when you get calls and stuff for when you post listings and everything, like, have you gotten business that way?
yeah,
That's good. That's good. Yeah, so it sounds like it's working. I would say, so it sounds like you're actually using, like your unique abilities, like because you're in your community, you're leveraging that, because maybe the people who are reaching out to you, they want somebody from their own community. They're looking for somebody they can trust. And maybe they feel like somebody from their own community would understand them better than, somebody who's not. So,
and you know, in this way, I just get the buyers, not the listing. And
yeah,
they are, most of them, they are not a real buyer. They just wanted to
waste your time.
education. Yeah, they know how they can buy, especially they don't have any idea how they can buy it here.
Yeah.
They're asking and asking lots of questions.
I mean, that's why, this is outside, like, this is nothing to do with online leads. It's just like, in terms of clients, like, I'm sure you guys have trainings from your brokerages and stuff, and they'll always tell you that like your goal as a realtor should be to be a listing agent, right? Why is that? Because listing agent means that they have something to offer you. Whereas a buyer agent, like when you're working with buyers, like it's a little bit more difficult. It costs more in terms of you have to drive around, take them to showings. Whereas with a listing, they already have what the best thing that you can possibly use for like marketing and stuff. That's why a lot of agents agree to list for 1% or something, because yes, they're getting 1%, but they're able to now put up their face all around the neighborhood for their open house, or they put their face on the lawn. So their face, like, it's basically like, yes, you're losing 1.5%. However, you're getting paid 1% so you can advertise yourself. So it's like, it's more, like you can't go wrong with a listing. I still say, try to get your 2.5. I'll try my best, and then if nothing works, I will still sign for 1% because it's a listing. However, I do try, I have this chart that I show them, like, they don't know how our brokerages, like, splits and stuff work, right? So I just tell them, I'm like, yeah, my brokerage, they take 50% and then I have to pay taxes, and then, this is how much marketing costs. Like, I just inflate all the costs. And, I just say, I'm like, oh, I have, like, at the end of the day, like, I show them how when they're paying me 1%, I'm going to end up with $500, right? So I tell them, I'm like, you tell me, if you were in my shoes, would you work tirelessly? Like, it takes months to get a listing sold, right? Especially if it's like above 1.5, or, like if it's a higher end listing and stuff, it sometimes, or when the market is down, like it is right now, it can take months to sell your listing. Like, do you want an agent? Like, would you work for months for $500? You know, and obviously, like the answer is no, right? So I usually average out on 2%, but I will still take it. Right, so I'll tell them, I'm like, so sure, I'll give you a discount of the 0.5%, I'll knock off the 0.5%, but I'm like, you know, if you're giving me 1%, I'm gonna make 500. So that's, you know, that's just not enough, right? So,
How do you explain? Because if it's 1% $10,000, so how do you explain them you can?
what do you mean, what?
Like if,
It's 1%.
if 0.5% it's, or 1%, yeah, it's $10,000. So how could?
So that's what I was saying, like I make this chart so they can, on my listing presentation, I put in a page that's like a chart and I put in, like I make a visual out of it and then I say, I'm like, look, so this is the $10,000, right? The brokerage takes half, like whether that is true or not, like they don't know how our brokerage splits work or something. I hope nobody's brokerage takes half, but you know, that's just tell them that. So just say, so my brokerage takes half, so that's I'm only getting 5,000. Then tax takes 13%, so that's, I don't know, like 4 something. And then I have to pay this much for your marketing, this much for your drone video, this much for this much for my lawn signs. Like, you know, you break it, like you make it, you break it down for them and you like you tell them all the costs that you have. And then show them that at the end of the day, that $10,000, that 1%, actually you're left with like 500. Like that's what I was saying, that it's like, and then you ask them the question that it's like, okay, like, so if you were in my shoes, would you work for months, right? Like sometimes it takes months to get a listing sold. Would you work for months for $500, right? And obviously most people, like I hope most people say no, right? Well, everybody has said no to me because like, that's not even minimum wage, right? So, and I am inflating the costs a little bit, you know, like it doesn't take $1,000 for marketing, but they don't know that, right? So you can just tell them that, and you could like, that's what I mean. So just inflate the cost. Like they don't know that the brokerage only like they don't know that your brokerage doesn't take 50%. How would they possibly verify that, right? Sorry? The brokerage would not,
If it's a lead off of the system, they'll take it.
well, that sucks, but that's why I do this training to show you how you can generate your own leads. However, what I mean is, I don't think it's illegal for a brokerage to like
And then
talk
just
about the minutia of your contract. You know, like I don't think a brokerage is in like they shouldn't be like they shouldn't be revealing that information.
Like if you have a team brokerage listing, you can promote those on your social media.
Yes, you used to be able to do it with impunity, but now RICO with the TRESA changes, you still can, but you just have to ask the realtor, like the listing agent, for permission. And for what it's worth, like nobody has ever said no to me. The most issues I've gotten is that they wanted to see the ad or see the post before I post, just to make sure that, you know, I'm not false advertising or something like that. But
Well, I think they choose yes in advertise, you know, in the listing. There is at
yeah,
the bottom
the
of the
distribute
page, it
to IDF,
advertise,
DDX,
yes.
yeah.
When they say yes, that's okay. If we
How
advertise,
would you know that?
it's in the listing.
I'm confused, sorry. You're trying to advertise another listing agent's property?
Yeah, if they accept it, it means in the listing it shows. Let me find something.
I think you're talking about, okay, there's 2 ways, because one is distribute to IDF, DDX, that's just like realtor.ca and like the other websites and stuff. And the second thing is permission to advertise after expiry.
Oh,
Is that
it's
weird? Yeah,
can
because
check.
right,
I
it's
should ask
it's
you.
after expiry, so which kind of defeats. I mean, I guess you still can, but And most people say no on that anyway. It's not a great practice to click yes, like to tick that as yes, because it's not like, so when somebody is advertising your property after it's already expired, it doesn't necessarily, like, that doesn't really help your marketing. Whereas if someone, like, so if someone wants to call me and say, hey, like I have a listing, and someone calls me and says, hey, Saraf, can I advertise on your 123 Main Street? I don't see a reason, like, I can't think of a scenario, like, I can't think of a reason why I would say no, because it's free advertising for me. If they can bring me a buyer like that, because the listing is still in my name, like they can, they can advertise it as, oh, hey, new listing, whatever, and people can think it's their listing. That doesn't, but when it sells, I'm still the one who's gonna make money, right? Like I have, presumably, if I have a listing that's on MLS, then I have a signed contract with the seller, right? So they can advertise all they want, but at the end of the day, all they're gonna be able to, the most they're gonna be able to do is bring me a buyer. So if somebody advertises on my behalf and they're able to bring me up, if that helps me get a buyer sooner, then why, like, I can't think of any reason why, like, if I have a listing already, then I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't want somebody advertising on that.
Let's say you do that, you get their permission, like, how would you do that as a story? Or when it sells, make another story, or do you put it as a post? Because
What do you
then
mean?
have to, like, if you're on Instagram, you put it on Instagram, and there's a listing, new listing, my team, or office, and, I'm posting it on my site. So if I get whatever, if it sells, whatnot, then you have to take down that post, right? Otherwise, people are gonna think that it's either still available, or if you didn't say, oh, it just sold for, but over asking. You have to, like, how do you do that so that?
Like you
after
can
it
do all of
sells-
those things, like as
Yeah.
in there's tons of listings where I myself have tried this, because a lot of people say like, oh, I get my leads from like Facebook Marketplace or something, right? Or the other way around, where my buyers will show me like, hey, like, you're telling me I can't get what I want for my budget, but look at this listing. It's a huge house for $499. You told me I couldn't get anything for under 800,000, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, and I look up the address, and it's sold 10 years ago, or it's a offer date price. Right, like, and then they
Right.
put it as $499 because they're just trying to attract buyers.
So you
So
have to put a new post in when it's.
you don't have to, like, as in people are, like, you can do all of the things that you're saying.
Just so that Tressa doesn't come back and say, oh, you're advertising something from 10 years ago, not even your listing. Just.
Well, that's why they've put these laws in place. Well, it's not even a law, it's just they've put these,
Like, just basically trying
know.
to figure out the correct way to leverage your brokerage as listings on, even if I were not to buy or get a buyer for them, at least people will think, oh, okay, she's doing lots of business, look at all these listings she's talking about, right? So it's a way to leverage it for you, hopefully buyers will find you, but, like, I guess it's the nitty gritty logistics.
But Tressa doesn't necessarily have any, I see what you're saying, but Tressa doesn't necessarily have any laws in place for best practices for false advertising. It only has the law of, it's not even a law, I can't think of what it's called, but like the rule that they're having right now is just that in order for you to be able to advertise any of that, whether it's sold 10 years ago or whatever, is to just make sure that you have the AOK from the listing.
Oh,
So they're technically not telling you, like, it doesn't really say anything about whether you can do false advertising or not, because what is false advertising anyway? Like, you guys were seeing the Google ad examples, and they were like, oh, sell for no fees or under 14 days or whatever. It's like, you guys know that that's not right? Like, even like some brokerages will advertise like, oh, a flat fee, but there's still a fee. Like, no one's gonna sell your house for free, right? Like, there is
lots of advertise that show just with something like this, we sell your house, just a little, a few price.
Yeah.
I see lots of advertisements.
Have you ever gone through with that? Because it's usually, there's always catches to these things, right? Like that's the point of selling. Like it's not even houses. Like if you, that's why I was talking about like retail sales as well. Like when you go to the mall, if you're going, it's like, oh, up to 75% off. And then you see it's all like the really small sizes or the really big sizes that most people are not going to be fitting into, right? Especially with shoes. It's so annoying. I'm a size 7 or 7.5, and I can never find shoes in my sizes that are on sale because I think those are like kind of the average sizes. So I never see shoes on sale that would actually fit me. So it's incredibly annoying, but that's how they get you, because they'll be like 90% off. It's like, yeah, because it's a size 15, like, you know, that like most people are. I mean, if you, it's like, I envy the really tall, like giant people who can fit into that, because they're like, yeah, I get sales all the time. It's like, yeah, because you're like 1% of the population, right? So it's usually not without a catch. So like even do you guys know a brokerage called Save Max? You know, okay, so Save Max had, I'm sure they still have this, but they had a $9.99 listing or something. So it's like, they will list your house for technically less than let's say $1,000, right? So all they're going to charge you is $1,000, but here's the trick. So it's like, you wonder, it's like, how do they make money, blah, 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 right? Because, they go out of their way to make sure that it sells to, like, the buyers are from other agents from Save Max, so that the money stays in the brokerage, right? So there's always a catch. So it's like, if you go with Save Max thinking that, oh my God, I only have to pay $1,000, well, you're limiting your scope of buyers to only those that work within Save Max, right? So that's how they're doing it. So like,
Is the
it's like,
price gonna be go down?
and the price is most likely not going to be the best price that you're going to get for your home. And you're most like, it's not good, right? Like, what if I told you that when you list your house with me, I'm only going to show it to other agents from Keller Williams? Like, just intuitively, you understand that limits your market, right? That limits your market by, I don't know how many percent, because Keller Williams is not all the buyers. You might be, obviously they do take buyers that are not, they don't have agents. So they're only selling it to people who are either with agents from their own brokerage or don't have an agent. However, that means you are limiting your market, right? So you're missing out on all the Remax agents or all the Royal LePage agents or all the other, like, you know, it's like, that's not how you get the best price for your home, right? So it's like, yeah, so you kind of get what you pay, right? Like if you're paying $1,000 to list your home, like these are some of the objections so this is what this is what I mean by objection handling. So it's like, you need to be able to answer these questions when, these are great questions that I've gotten from listing appointments or like listing presentations, right? So when I do listing presentations, they throw these questions at me all the time. Like, oh, what about, I hate Save Max because they always bring this up. They're always like, oh, what about Save Max? They're willing to list my home for under $1,000. How come you won't even let us get away with 1%? It's like, yeah, think about what that means, you know, like anyway, so
Yeah, they lose more than.
Yeah.
That's
Amount. Like they don't care. Like,
so that's my perfect, oh, you mean the sellers? Yeah.
They just don't care.
You're not gonna
Like,
get
they
them
got
all.
100,000, we need 50,000 on the table,
Mhm.
and you can't. I don't like them.
So I know, and unfortunately, it's not gonna work with everybody. I don't recommend, like how I was talking about, like, yeah, sometimes at the end of the day, I just sign it for 1%. I don't sign it for 1,000. Because $1,000 is not enough. Like that is actually, it's like, even without me inflating my prices, like, yeah, because I have to pay a percentage to my brokerage, I have to pay taxes, I have to pay marketing fees, like $1,000 is not gonna cover any of that. My gas is gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Yeah.
my flyer, like I'm probably gonna post just listed flyers or coming soon flyers or something, like, it's not even gonna cost my, like, it's not even gonna barely cover my flyer costs and stuff. So it's like, $1,000 is not enough. If they're not budging, I suggest you just, it's like, don't try to push, a square into a circle or whatever. Like, sometimes it's just not, you're just not gonna get that listing. I suggest just give it to SafeMax. It's like, it's their loss because they literally have missed out on, I believe it's like 10 to 12% of the value of their home. Like, as in, they could have gotten 10 to 12% more if they had listed with you or any other agent, because SafeMax is only going to expose it to like a certain amount of people and stuff, right? So I try to mitigate this with visuals. So I have this, it's a pricing pyramid. I'm gonna go rogue for a second and I'll look this up. I didn't even create this or anything. It's just a, like, it's a pricing pyramid for real estate. You guys see this? If I like zoom in really hard on this. Can you guys see this thingy? Nope. Nope. No, it's too small. I'm trying to zoom in. I really like this. Okay, what if I zoom in? Is this better? Yeah. So I like to use this one. Oh, perfect. Okay, look, this is cookies at work. Because do you see this thing? It's like, so when you click on I am looking to buy or I am looking to sell, this is like, it literally tells you it's like an online agent, blah, blah, blah. It's usually, this is usually like a robot.
They start to follow.
Yes, and they like, this is how they get your information. This is technically, this would count as a lead capturing method because it's a way to get your information. So this is the pricing pyramid used by many big brokerages or big teams and stuff. I like to use this. I do rebrand it according to my colors or whatever, but essentially the idea stands. So even at market price, you're actually only exposing so depending on what strategy you want to go for, you're only exposing your house to about 60% of potential buyers. At 10% above market, you've already cut that by half. So you're only exposing your home to 30% of potential buyers. If you price your home 15% above market price, you're actually only exposing it to 10% of buyers, right? So honestly, it's like that. This is how you sort of, because sometimes I'll get the objection like, oh, why are you, like, my home is worth $1 million. Why are you, or $1 million, like 1.1, why are you pricing it at $9.99, right? So I try to explain to them that I'm trying to price it 15% below market price so I can expose it to 90% of potential buyers, right? So I do the same thing. I use the same kind of pyramid to explain the SafeMax issue, where I say, so think about it. If you are paying $1,000 to list your home, they're only going to expose it to about 10 to 30% of the potential buyers, right? So do you think your home is going to sell? Or is it going to sell fast? Or is it going to sell at the right price? And yes, you are correct. Sometimes they don't care. And at that point, you unfortunately, have to give it up because, I mean, it's up to you. If you want to take that listing for $1,000, be my guest, but I don't suggest it because it's like, you're kind of losing money on that. But however, it's like, yeah. So, and believe me, you're better off not taking that listing because they're going to be trouble. Like, these people are going to give you a really hard time. Yeah. So you're most likely better off like saving your mental health and it's like, instead of wasting your time on these people who are going to give you a hell of a time, spend that time generating more leads so you can get more listing presentations and hopefully next time you'll get it. So yeah, this is something I use. Like, visuals are like, don't underestimate the power of visuals. when you're doing a listing presentation, always bring charts and graphs, and they don't need to understand it. They just need to, like, when they see that you have like a picture and graphs and everything, it just makes you sound. That's why even Stratus allowed you to do CMAs, because CMAs show that you have done your research and it gives you a little bit of credibility, right? So you're not just like talking out of your, excuse my language.
And what about the sellers that say, okay, bring the buyer, then I will sign with you?
So that's a good one.
Something like that.
That's a good one. However, like, there are laws in place. So if, you know, you can tell them that it's like, yeah, I'm happy to bring buyers. Or first of all, you can bring buyers, because buyers doesn't mean like
Yeah.
they're gonna have an offer. If you have any buyers that you're working with or some friends who are happy to help you out, you can bring them. Be like, okay, great. When can I book an appointment? You know, and say, okay, can I,
Oh, it's a good idea.
yeah,
I didn't think of it.
like buyers, bringing buyers, and then you bring the buyers, and then if they are your friend, if they're actual buyers and they come in and
You know, we don't have any agreement.
Sure.
And maybe they go directly
Sure.
together.
sure, but okay, thankfully Tressa has resolved that, because even if you don't have a contract and stuff, like, you actually have to sign a paper. It's called a self-representing party or something. So you actually have to sign something saying that you have not contacted or talked to any realtors. So if they do that, you are still entitled to some compensation. So if the buyers and sellers like go behind your back and like try to do a deal on their own, because I know that's why they put that law into place, because a lot of people were doing stuff like that. You are still entitled to some compensation now after the Tressa thing. However, if you're afraid of that, then just bring some friends. Bring some friends who look like potential buyers, because even if you were to actually bring like actual real live buyers, they're not gonna buy the house after seeing it one time. It's not staged, right? Like, most people's homes don't look unless that's why we stage it, right? Because it's like they might have different tastes and things like that. And most sellers also expect a lot more for their property than they're gonna get. And they say that, oh, bring your buyers or whatever, because it's a script that a lot of realtors use. Like, oh, okay, if I had buyers, if I had a buyer ready to buy your house right now, would you be willing to sell? And then like, it's like they've learned some objection handling of their own, and they try to say that to try to like make you go away. So bring them a buyer, right? Like, call their bluff kind of thing, and bring them a buyer, because most buyers don't buy the property after seeing it once. So you can bring if you're worried about them going behind your back, bring some friends, and be like, okay, great, my buyer is ready to go. What day or time can I bring them by? And then, you know, set up an appointment, and then bring your buyer friends, and, you know, just tell them to just poo-poo everything in the house, right? And then you can be like, yeah, sorry, my buyers didn't like it, right? And then that way it's like, you're showing them that you have the network and you have the connections. And then now that the buyers didn't like the house, you can start advising them on how to improve the quality of their house or why they need you. Because clearly buyers are not interested in their house, right? So there's ways you can kind of like go around it, right? And yeah, like, there's not really a reason why you can't bring your friends. Like, I have friends who maybe, you know, they are interested in buying a home. So I don't bring friends that are my age. I use my aunts and uncles who, like, they have kids and stuff, and they look like home buyers, you know. So use your community, or I'm sure you have one friend or one couple that you can use or something. All right, so we have veered way off topic, but let's get back to online leads. So let's go over the difference between passive and active lead generation. So passive and active lead generation is when you're going out there, door knocking, and like you're actively physically doing something to get these contacts, right? Technically, putting out social media ads is still active, especially in the first, when you're trying to set it up. And then the point is to, like, for online leads to become passive lead generation once you've figured out your stuff. So how does this happen? There's something called the learning months. So when you're starting to, I mean, it's the same with most lead generation systems. When you go door knocking, you're not going to get your listing the one time you go and that's it and you're done, right? You have to go consistently for months before you start seeing any results. It's kind of the same with this. So the difference between door knocking and online leads is the fact that you would still have to continue going door knocking, whereas with the online leads, once you have your audience like figured out, and once you start doing some testing, and once you're past like your first 60 to 90 days, you should start seeing some results without having to now then continue researching, doing this and doing that. You can just continue to do the thing that has worked for you. So that's basically what I'm going to talk about. The first 60 to 90 days, you will need to do some testing. So I talked about the DISC model, for instance. I like to curate content that would sort of speak to the 4 different personalities. And then I see who clicks on that or who reads those emails and stuff. And then that's how I know what kind of content to send them or how to improve my content. Same with the best content forward. It's mostly talking about how I said about like, think about your target audience, find something that makes you like stand out from the crowd or something. Like, I got a really good performing ad because I ran an ad that advertised to newly divorced women. So I said, oh, are you recently divorced? Are you looking to sell your home, but don't want to contact your husband's network, right? It's like, well, you just got divorced from this man, so you don't want to be like, you don't have his friends and neighbors or whatever that were connected to him bothering you anymore, or you don't want to bother with them anymore. You want to build your own network, right? And I got some leads off of that, and I actually even closed because they were specifically looking for a woman. They were specifically not looking for a man that would be like their husband was high income earner or something, and he had a large network, and she didn't want to do anything. Like, she didn't want to have anything to do with that. She specifically wanted somebody who would be who would cater to her interests and not like go behind her back and like talk to her husband or something like that. So that's, by all means, use that idea, but I just mean that's an example. Like, think about something that you can offer that you are like, you specialize, or you might have an advantage. Right? Yeah. Sure.
Oh, sorry. That particular ad, did you run it more like on the search engine or did you do it on
I usually do both.
Really?
But I got it from my website, so that would be the search engine. Like, so the closing, I got leads from both, but the closing I got was from the Google ad.
No, but you still have to deal in some sense with the husband when closing if it's in like it's a marital home, so they're splitting it.
Mhm.
So even if she uses you, you still have some, like, they get half, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's
just
fine.
it will work
Still
in
have to work.
Why would you not have to work with the husband?
Would you have to work?
I did, yeah. Okay. The point is that that's exactly why she wanted an agent of her own, because she didn't want to use her husband's agent, which obviously would be taking her husband's side about how to go about things, how to do the showings, or just not listening to her concerns, or, it's like, she wanted somebody that she could trust and that her husband would kind of be like the third wheel in that situation. Because like, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but there is a lot of misogyny in our, in our world, especially if you're a woman of color or something. Sometimes men will just bulldoze over you. So sometimes, like in that situation, like that's what helped, because she felt like, a lot of the times you'll realize that being a realtor, it's like, why is it so hard? Because you're not just a realtor. You have to be their confidant. You have to be their therapist. You have to be their mother. You have to be like, you have to hold their hand through like a lot of personal stuff. And, so that's why people normally transact with people that they can either relate to or that they like, because they want to be able to use you for all your mental health stuff. So, that's just a really, really small way of doing it. That's a very, very narrow thing, example that I've given. But there's tons of things that you can do. Some women will be recently divorced, and she got the house as part of the divorce, but she can't handle the finances, and that's why she needs to sell. And maybe it's like, that's why she specifically, it's like, maybe it's not even about her husband's network or anything, it's just she doesn't have access to that network. So she wants someone that somebody who understands her situation, and who better than another woman, right? So it's it's like, yeah, we live in a misogynistic culture, so let's use that to our advantage, right? And then the last, but definitely very good point, is the A/B testing. And that's when, so she asked whether that was a very good question, whether I was using the social media or the search engine ads. And I said both, because I was actually still in my testing phase. So I was doing A/B testing, meaning alpha and beta, but basically like you test ad A and test ad B, right? So it's like basically you test the same ad in two different platforms, or in two different, let's say you can even do this within the same platform, but let's say you put out the same ad twice on Facebook, but you use one where it's targeted advertising and one where it's geographic advertising. So one, it's like you are targeting geographic demographics. So it's like you're only targeting people who are in the listing area, or who live in the condo area. So they're most likely going to want to move up, or they live in a gated community area, so they're going to want to size down or something. And then the other is like you do interest-based targeting. So you're only targeting people who are interested in a luxury apartment, or like whatever. It depends on, it's hard to say with the interest, because it depends on what kind of listing you have. And sometimes, like, I've personally noticed that I do better, or I get more as well as warmer leads when I don't do listing ads. Because with listing ads, I've noticed that they kind of just want to know the price, or they want to know the location, or something. Like they just want some information from you, and that they're not actually interested, because they're trying to do their own, it's like part of their own research kind of thing. So they're more of a long-term, it's more of a colder lead, because you're going to have to make sure you follow up with them like for years before you transact. But I'll talk about that more. I don't want to confuse you guys, but so moving on, once you've done some testing and figured out your content and research and stuff, you will go into the earning months. So that's when you're actually gonna start to see some results. That's why I put this in my slides, because a lot of people say like, oh, I've run a Facebook ad and I didn't get any results, or I didn't even get any leads, let alone cold leads or warm leads or whatever, right? And I'll tell them that yes, because leads are this lead generation is kind of the same principle, whether you're doing it online or you're door knocking. Because again, so what if somebody came to you and told you that, well, I went door knocking once and it didn't work? It's like, it's, that's a very, you can't count it as a failure when you've only tried once. Like door knocking only works if you're doing it over and over again over a span of a few months or weeks, at least weeks. It's not going to work if you just go knock on 10 doors once and that's it, right? Like, it's like, yeah, no wonder you didn't get any leads. Like, they're never going to remember you. Like, people have to see your face a few times before they remember. I think it's, they have to see your face 5 to 7 times before they actually start like remembering your face. So, it's like, it's no wonder that you didn't get any leads or that your leads didn't pan out or something, right? So it's the same thing with online leads. Like, they have to see it doesn't have to be the same ad, but it'll be the same person, right? So as in, they'll see, okay, Saraf has put in this one ad with lots of information. It's boring, I don't want to look at it. Next week, they either see the same ad or see a very similar ad, and they're like, okay, it's too long, I didn't read it. But once they see it 5 to 7 times, they might not remember what your ad was, but they will remember that, oh yeah, this Saraf girl, like she posts a lot of ads, right? It's like she must have a lot of money, or she must be really successful to be posting so many ads, right? So it's like they only start working once you've done them a few times is the point. And that's basically how you get from a lead to like how you turn a lead into an actual like tangible business. And one thing that you have to consider is your costs. So I think you brought up a really good point that it's like, if you don't feel like if you're not ready to post paid ads, by all means try posting social media posts, like the free ones, right? Like just videos or posts. I do suggest videos, but whatever, like as in it'll still be free. Try posting that kind of stuff, because again, as long as you have a business account, you don't have to have a huge follower thing, you'll still be able to see those metrics. So post one video of like just market stats, like slides, and then post a video of your face, like when you're talking about the market stats, or you're talking about a funny thing about realtors, or you're giving some information or something. Just make sure that it's like, so you'll see, I'm using that example because in an increasingly digital world, people are starved for like face-to-face interactions. So in lieu of that, people trust you more or believe you more when they see your face. So instead of posting just the market stats, post a selfie video. Like, it doesn't have to be a professionally edited video or anything. And I have some examples, but post a video of yourself talking, because they'll see your face, they'll hear your voice, and they'll sort of get a feel about the type of person you are and whether they feel like they'll connect with you or they like you. But yeah, so you can do the A/B testing without even posting a paid ad, because you can post social media posts, right? Just again, do it consistently and track all the metrics consistently to actually see some results. Because again, it's like, so you post it one time and you didn't see any results, and you're like, oh, okay. If you give up after that one time, like, unfortunately, that's not enough data for it to mean anything. Because like, I'm not interested in cars. However, I have made searches on like auto repair or something because I whether I'm interested in cars or not, I still have a car and it needs repairs sometimes. So 1 out of the 75 Google searches or 100 Google searches that I've done has been about auto repair. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to see ads about auto repair, like or about cars or anything, right? So that's exactly how the cookies work, how the interest-based targeting or cookies and stuff work as well. They go by numbers. So out of your 100 searches, they're gonna see that most of my, like, a more number of searches are gonna be, cat toys and veterinarians and gardening. And 1 out of the 100 searches was about an auto repair. So it's like, they're not gonna show me ads about auto repairs. They're gonna show me ads about cats and gardening. So it's just that you have to, so in order to understand that, you have to track, right? Like you can't, maybe when you posted that ad, you got your auto repair, as in, I'm trying to make the analogy, but basically it's like based
I
on,
have a good
Yeah.
one if you like.
sure, tell me.
No, I have a good car repair.
Well, thank you. I'll
Yeah,
think
you
about it.
can.
But basically what I'm trying to say is that it's a statistics game. So it's a numbers game, it's a statistics game. So when somebody says like, oh, you're 75%, there's a 75% chance of rain, and then it doesn't rain, like it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that there was still a probability of that happening. It's just that there was a higher chance of it raining. So it's nothing, like most things are not, I don't know why the term exact science even exists, because even scientists like that, when they do, actually, you used to be a scientist. So Sonia used to be a scientist, which I think is really cool. But basically, as a scientist, you understand that it's
It's about statistical significance.
significance.
So
Oh my
you're
God.
repeating your experiments at least 10 or 15 times to make sure that what you're getting is correct. It doesn't always happen. So maybe like 10% of the time, something messed up. So
Mhm.
yeah, it is a numbers game, and you need to prove statistical significance that this is a real result.
Thank you. Oh my God.
I get it.
Could not have said it as well as you did. That's wonderful. If you don't mind, I'm gonna put that in my next presentation, statistical significance, because I really like that. But essentially, I hope I got my point. That's because I get that a lot. Like when I do these presentations, like, oh, well, I did this and it didn't work. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like sometimes it's not gonna work, right? But yes, so you just want to make sure that you're tracking everything. And by all means, if you don't have the money to run a paid social media ad, try to do some testing by just doing free social media posts. And the third is relationships. So obviously it's when you get an online lead, so all those things that I talked about, the speed to lead and the mastery of your conversation and all that stuff, like that only works if you're consistently following up and you're building that relationship, right? So again, you could pay lead aggregators. Remember, those are the people who you pay to get you 8 to 10 warm leads a month. However, your money is going down the drain if you're not following up with those leads, right? It's not knowing, unfortunately, it's like you could get 100 leads, but you're gonna lose 100% of the time if you don't call them, or if you don't, how are they gonna know that you're ready to do business unless, they're gonna think, oh, maybe they didn't call me because they're not actually a realtor, or they're not in business or whatever, right? So this is the point I was trying to make, that you want to focus on the big picture, because at first your costs are going to be, so this is how you turn active lead generation into passive lead generation. So in the beginning, your cost, or like your cost is going to be high, and your ROI, or return on investment, is going to be low, right? And eventually so this would be probably like the 60 to 90 day mark. And then once you reach this, you're going to start to see your return on investment going up and your costs going down, right? Because it's like, yeah, so at first you're gonna need to do testing, you're gonna track everything, you're gonna need to put money on these ads or social, like even doing free social media videos or posts, it's like, it might still cost you because it's like, oh, maybe you have to drive to certain places or you have to pay to look nice or whatever, right? So like there are, or sometimes people don't realize or take into account the cost of your time, right? Like your time is also costly. So you don't want to be, so at first the effort is going to be high and the results are not going to be there. But I urge you not to give up because eventually those efforts are going to pay off and you're going to need to put less and less effort. And you're going to actually see it's like, you're going to see more and more results. So some statistics, I usually include this in all my presentations because you should always keep this in mind. So the real estate mind share that we talk about is like most people know lots of realtors, right? There's so many realtors. So most people know a lot of realtors. They're only gonna, like 76% of people are only gonna think of one realtor when they're about to transact. And it's 16% of people will think of maybe 2 realtors, and it's not even 8%. It's like on average it's 8%, but it's most likely it's a negligible amount of people that are even going to be able to name 3 realtors. So even though there's tons of realtors, there's usually only one that sticks in your mind. So you want to be that number 1 realtor. And okay, number 1 realtor sounds it's like you don't have to be the top producing realtor to be the number 1, the first agent that comes to mind, right? You can do this by, so we do a 60 touch model when you already have clients, even client like your sphere of influence or clients you've worked with in the past, etc. You have to keep in touch with them through emails and texts, send them like news articles or market stats, and then of course your phone calls. So I've translated this model into the digital or the online version. And so you can do, so the 60 touch is the number. So you're supposed to be sending them 36 emails, and instead you can post 36 social media videos. Try not to post all 36 in one day or something, but I hope you understand. So normally the 36 emails are supposed to be your, we have an automated system of sending bi-weekly neighborhood updates. So twice a month, your clients get an automatic update about the neighborhood that like you set up for them. Like, so this is a neighborhood, either if they're a seller, the neighborhood they live in, or if they're a buyer, the neighborhood they're interested in. If they're both, then both. And so that's 24 emails or videos. And then the 12 is the market updates, right? You should be, it's like, if absolutely nothing else, you should be at least sending them a monthly market update, right? Because this should be provided to you by your brokerage. So this should be a no-brainer. Like, if absolutely, even if you don't call or text or whatever, please, like, it's like, don't miss out on, this is a really simple thing. Trev provides us with the stats every single month, so you should be sending them every single month. And your brokerage should be like setting up the stats for you. I don't know why it's backwards, but basically here, I'll reveal all of them, but not a secret. So then I say, instead of 10 texts, I say 10 blog posts. So this is something you can post on your social media or your website, and then you can share that with your clients through either, you can text them, I guess, with the blog posts. And then 10 unique SOI touches. So meaning, you know, this is where you should be creative and think of, okay, like home maintenance tips or seasonal home repairs, you know, like what to do to make sure your home is ready for the winter. What to do is, to make sure you're ready for spring cleaning, or, you know, what have you. Summer activities that you can do at no cost at your home. Like, you know, it's like, it doesn't always have to be real estate like related, you know, like you don't have to scream real estate out of the top of your lungs to get business. Like sometimes the thing that will attract people to you will be, oh, you know what, Saraf sent me an auto repair, you know, referral or something. Like she sent me the best place to get my car fixed, so maybe I'll give her a call. And then that's when you know, that's how you build a relationship. And then the one thing that's non-negotiable, this is the same in our original model, is the 4 phone calls. So we suggest the 4 quarterly phone, like to follow up with your clients using a phone call quarter. So 4 times a year. You can schedule it by the season or however you like, but basically make sure you're calling your clients at least 4 times. Whether they're a cold client, a hot client. Well, I mean, look, we all know how to deal with our hot clients, right? But it's turning the cold or the semi-warm leads into like closing or hot client. That's where we have trouble. This is how you do it. Just make sure you call them 4 times a year. So if nothing else registered with you, yeah, I do say the market update, but if you're not even willing to do the market update, call them 4 times a year. That's, you know, hopefully that shouldn't be too much. If it is, you're in the wrong business. So this is why we say the 60 touch, because it's designed in a way, it's 60 touches but per year, but you know, in case that wasn't clear, do not call them or contact them 60 times per week or day, because that is way too much. They will block you. So that's why we tell that's why the formula of 60 touches is kind of the right amount, because you don't want to be calling them every day. Okay, no one wants to hear from anybody every single day, right? And you don't want to miss out and call them only once a year, because that's not enough. That's not enough for them to remember, right? So you don't want to call them too much, and you don't want them to forget about it, right? So you don't want to call them too much that they block you, and you don't want to call them so little that they forget about it. So you want to make sure that there's a balance between the, like, how often that you're touching base with them. So because most people need homes, but it is a big investment, or it's a big amount, or it's a very serious thing in most people's lives. So they're not going to take it like they're not going to be moving every day, right? So everyone is going to move somewhere between 7 to 10 years. And you want to make sure that you're touching base with them, like at every step of their life stages or changes, if that makes sense. So like, let's say, that's why we say every 3 months. So if absolutely nothing else, make sure you're following up with your clients at least quarterly, because that will most likely, like that's how often people sort of go through, like that's how you'll catch them in between their life stages, you know, because you might call somebody and no, I'm not interested. No, we just moved. Like we're not going to move in anytime soon. And then like 6 months later, his wife gets pregnant, right? And now they do need to kind of upsize, right? So you want to make sure that you're following up with them every 3 months, so you can catch them at that 6 month, you know, point. If you call them a year after they've said that they're not interested, their wife has had the baby already, so they most likely already moved. Same with it, you know, maybe they say, no, we're not interested. I'm retired. Like, you know, my house is paid off. I don't care. And then their wife dies, or their husband, whatever. So their spouse passes away, and now they realize they don't need such a big home, or they feel lonely, or they just don't have a need, or, you know, for whatever reason. And now they need to sell their home, or because they need to downsize. right? So you want to be, so that's what these like ticks are. So they've just moved. So their interest is going to be down here right after they move, right? But it's slowly going to go up as life goes on because, you know, things happen and maybe you got a new job, maybe you had a baby, maybe somebody died, maybe
They
Yeah.
are old now.
they're too old and they can't, you know,
Catch up.
exactly. So they can't go up the stairs anymore, so they need to move to a bungalow or a condo or a gated, like whatever, like there's people will transact if you give them the correct amount of time. And that's why we designed the 60 touch, and that's why it's designed like that, because you don't want to, again, to reiterate, you don't want to follow up with them too much so that they block you, and you don't want to follow up with them so little that they forget you, right? You want a nice like balance. And I guess I kind of covered these next few slides where, you know, when people say like, oh, I don't want to spend money on running social media ads, I'd rather, you know, it is a very good point that it's like, yes, maybe you don't want to spend money on running social media ads. However, in order to get the same kind of results with free social media posts, it is still costing you your time. So you want to, it's like, you want to think about, it's totally on, like the onus is totally on you guys, like how you want to spend your time. So if you enjoy posting on social media, by all means, you know, like go spend as much time as possible so you don't have to pay money for your leads. However, I'm not a big fan of posting on social media. So I'd rather pay for the ads and I'd rather go door knocking, or I'd go to a networking event or whatever in order to, like, you know, that's what I like to do. So I feel like my time is better spent in talking to people rather than editing videos. So I don't like to do that. But if you know, people are different. If you're an introvert, you don't like talking to people, and you like spending a lot of time editing your videos, then that might be a more cost-effective idea for you. So that's all this is. And then I talked about this as well. So this is tracking everything. Just track. I'm not gonna, in the interest of time, I realize we are getting late, but so this is the social media model. So I'm glad you brought up the free social media posts because yes, it doesn't cost any money per se, but this is how often and how much that you need the effort and often that you need to be posting in order to see any results. So you would have to make sure that you post 10 times a week. And the posts are within your area of expertise. And I know all of us are realtors and we're expert realtors, and that's great. But what I mean by area of expertise is the niche and focus. So it's, I've actually gotten this objection before that, okay, but don't you want your post to be as broad as possible so that you can attract the most amount of people, like, you know, basically you want to be relatable to the most amount of people. However, social media works the reverse way because you're not like, it's like that might work if you're doing geo-targeting. So when you're going door knocking, you want to be as like neutral as possible, for instance. Like, oh, it's the same thing when you're staging a house, right? You want to stick to like neutral colors and stuff so that you can attract the most diverse group of people. However, online is different. When you're doing social media posts, you want to narrow down your niche as much as possible because there is no geographical limit, right? Social media is showing your ads to people who are interested. So if your ads, or no, ads are, sorry, posts, we're not talking about ads anymore. These are just for social media posts, the free ones. So they're showing your posts to people who are actually interested. So if I'm posting about, yeah, so that's why I post about cats and gardening. However, even cats and gardening is too broad. You want to narrow it down so that you can actually, because, okay, so if you're posting content that is neutral and relatable to everyone, you're not going to get any. Whereas when you're focusing your content, you're going to be targeting the people who are actually interested in that. And there's no limit, right? Social media can be shown all around the world. Like your social media post is shown from Canada to like,
And it's not work for.
sorry?
Yeah, I said, and it's not work, for example, somebody in Asia, look at my app, it's not work for me.
No, these are not ads. These are for this free social media posts.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to show my listing, for example. It's not work if someone in the other country look at my thing.
Why not?
But they can buy, they are for it.
Right. So that brings into my next point is that translate real estate content into relatable content. Even people in your geographical area, it's like, why are they going to be interested in your post? And I don't mean to target you. It's like, think about why would you be interested in a post? Because it's either funny or because it's informative. So just posting a static post of a listing, unfortunately, is not really going to do much for you. Like, as I've said before, that it's like, I kind of think it's backdated now. Like, I don't like to put, like, even when I do run ads, I don't really run listing ads. I usually do very targeted post of like the divorce lady, or I like to do informative posts like, oh, so the Bank of Canada has said that the interest rates are down now, or they're going to be posting, decreasing the interest rate sometime in 2024. What does this mean for Vaughan? Or what does this mean for Scarborough? Like, you know, it's like you want to be as like focused as possible, because those are the type, it's like, yeah, so that's something that would actually click with somebody from Scarborough or Vaughan. But if it's just, it's like there's tons, if they just want to look at listings, they can just go to realtor.ca, right? So that's another reason why we have to be more static. Like that's kind of why static listing posts like don't really work. Because our customer, like this isn't 1985 anymore, and our customers are increasingly tech savvy, so they know how to do their own research. Like they can look for listings by themselves. Like I no longer send listings to like sometimes to my prospective buyers, or like, you know, like sometimes I do if they're really, really hot or something. But honestly, usually when they're really hot clients, they send me listings. You know, because they tell me like, hey, Saraf, I saw this listing on Facebook Marketplace or Realtor.ca or this and this and this. Can you show up? Like, can you take us to do a showing? Right. So they send me listings. Like, I don't send them listings. I send them informative content, blog posts. So here, so I have an example of like all the different kinds of content you can post, but this is what I was talking about, that you have to think about what investment that you're willing to put in. Do you want to just, it's like, if you're not paying, remember I talked about how there's always a catch. So there's like, if you're not willing to pay the money, it's going to cost you a lot of time, right? Time and research, because again, you have to make sure that you're finding a niche and you're focusing your content. You're translating the real estate content into actual relatable posts, and there's a variety of posts. So I'll demonstrate. There's a social media calendar, and I have an example of all the different things you can post. But again, and not only do you have to do all these things, you have to post at least 10 times a week, because again, people only remember what they see repeatedly. And especially nowadays with everybody with the millions of followers and stuff, people see about 5,000 to 7,000 posts a week. So you have to do at least 10 posts per week. to see any kind of results. You have to add on top of, that's the posting side. And then on top of that, you have to be adding like you have to be following at least 7 new followers daily. And these followers have to be like-minded accounts. So you want to be following other real estate agents. Maybe you want to narrow it down, other women in real estate. You want to narrow it down even more, other women who are mothers or other women who have a background in technology. I like to follow other young women in real estate. Like, it's just pick your niche and follow like-minded accounts. Then you want to engage with posts on similar topics like this. And just FYI, engaging doesn't mean just like sending a like or hey or whatever. Social media, especially Instagram, only counts your engagement if it's at least 4 words. So 4 or more words. So when you do engage with a post, a thank you is not enough. You would have to say something like, thank you for your comment. Like something like, just make sure that it's 4 or more words in order for it to even count as engagement. And then you guys always see the recommended list of people you should be following. It's like, yeah, just follow them. I mean, obviously sometimes they're like random accounts that are clearly like guys or something, so don't do that. But be sure to recommend, like, follow the people sometimes that are recommended to you, because Facebook is recommending them to you because they have similar interests. So those keywords or whatever, they've shown interest. And then the real life, I just put that in there because it's like, again, we get so hung up on real estate, it's like people get it, we're realtors, right? Try to make it a little bit more personal. People want to get to know what your interests are, right? And that's how you get people to like you, and people do business with people they like, right? So, and then, so this is sort of an example, I hope my head is not blocking it, of different kind of contents that you can post. I am just going to refill my coffee while you guys take a look at that. So this is what I mean by, like, you don't have to always post listings, right? Again, if people want to look at listings, they can go to realtor.ca. You can post things like about home maintenance, DIYs are do-it-yourself renovation tips or things like that. You can post about community events, renovation ideas, holidays, like I've posted all the different examples here because it's like, it should be like other content other than real estate. Like, it's, again, people get it, we're realtors. This is a social media calendar. Again, you don't have to post every single day or multiple times a day or something. I put the 10 times a week because it's like, technically you could post 5 times a day for 2 days out of the week or something, but I wouldn't recommend that. I just meant it's like space it out so that it's enough that people are starting to recognize. And feel free to recycle your posts. I wouldn't suggest it on the same week, but yeah, feel free to every month, every first of the month, actually, you know what? We do recycle our posts because I post the market stats. So every single month, around the 5th or 6th of the month, I usually post a market stats video. So, feel free to do that. It's totally fine. And sorry, when I say recycle posts, like, feel free to, if you made a funny post about, or like even an informative post, like, hey, these are some of the things that you should be looking for when you're a first-time home buyer. Feel free to post the exact same post, like, again, next month. Like, most people aren't going to remember it. But what they are going to remember is that they saw your face twice in the same month. Like, you know what I mean? They're gonna remember the fact that you were informative and that they saw your face is what they're gonna remember. So it's okay, like, obviously don't recycle every single one of your posts, but it, like, you know, don't be afraid to do that, like, once in a while. That's fine, as long as you have enough, like, variety of content, it should be okay. I don't know if it's too small, but I'll just go over like a couple of examples. Like, for instance, this one literally says, share why you love Mondays. I don't even know what that means because I don't love Mondays. I hate Mondays. Mondays are if you have an open house, Mondays are the day that you're spending the whole day following up with all your open houses, right? And if you know anything about doing follow-up calls, they're not all gonna answer, and they're gonna call you back at an inconvenient time later in the day when you don't want to be on phone. So I don't like Mondays, so I might share why I hate Mondays. So this is just an example. But again, I just want to reiterate that it doesn't always need to be real estate related.
Can I have these?
Well, actually, so Keller Williams has these for 3 months. And we do update it like I think once every few months or something. So I'm happy to share that with you. If you want, you can book like a consultation with me. It's free of charge, and I can go over that with you as well.
Thank you.
It's not even like you have to post everything. It gives you ideas, you know, because like I think a lot of the times you run out of like content ideas, like what to post is one of the most, it's like paralyzing because there's so many things you could be posting. What should I actually post, right? Totally get it. So this is an example of a very boring monthly update. If you are sending this to your client, that's fine. Sometimes we need to inform them of stuff. However, I think something like this is a lot more engaging, and I realize our audio is off. Hopefully this will work now. So the market sales came today. So this is like a 2-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing, and I'm not even sure if you guys could hear everything clearly. But basically, I summarize what I put in here, but I make it a little bit more personable. So, and this is a market update from December 2023. I need to update my slides. Apologize, but basically, this is something that I like to post once a month because I'm not even talking about the numbers. I'm not even like, oh, it was you know, an increase by one. Yeah, because not only do I not remember this, if we're not remembering these numbers, neither are your clients. And the numbers are like, again, anyone can look that stuff up because Trev posts it every single one, right? What I talk about is what it act like. I translate real estate jargon into actual like simple words, everyday words that people can actually understand. So I talk about, hey, so this is the market report. This is what's happening over the last month. You know, it seems like immigration has been higher. And what does this mean for you? This means that most likely the prices are going to go up. Like it's simple things like that. Like it's not, oh, the prices last month went up by 27%, and that means the median price is now 1.1. That's like, I'm boring myself talking about that, right? So don't say stuff like that. Say it more, you know, just big ideas, simple words, keep it simple. Nope. And then these are just some ways you can increase your So by running some like search engine ads and stuff, you can increase your rank on, you can increase your rank on Google. That's your SEO rank, or search engine optimization. And it's just a good way, like, so when people search for you, like, you'll be the first person that actually comes up on Google and stuff. And Realtor.ca does a really good job of this. However, if they don't know your name, you still want to be able to come up because you made posts using like keywords and things like that. So I just made some, like, like why it's important, because I prefer, like I said in the beginning of my presentation, I do prefer SEO. Like, so I prefer the search engine ads, because you don't have to post 10 times a week. You don't have to do all this engaging content and videos and all that stuff. It's something that's called evergreen content. So basically, you would only have to update it like 3 to 4 times a year versus like 10 times a week and all that stuff. Because it's like, when you search for something, you might see, like on Google, you might see something that was posted like 3 years ago, right? Because it's just a question that's still relevant today. Like, how do I sell my home fast? If you've written like a good blog article or something, or posted posted an ad or something that's very, like, that actually answers those questions, and is informative, like, oh, you talk about the pricing strategies and all that stuff, it will still show up 3 to 4 years later, or however many times later. So this is kind of what I mean. Like, you can use your website to increase your rank on Google. So if you're sharing articles with your clients, I didn't even write these articles from scratch. I looked at other articles and just literally summarized it like the way that I did with the video, with simple words that people can actually understand. Feel free to use ChatGPT or whatever to help you with this, and that's fine. But if you're sharing informative articles with your clients, make sure to also post it on your website. So when they click, like, let's say you send them an email, when they click on the article, they're being sent to your website, and then that will increase your rank on Google. And then I also like to post my real estate activity. So it's like, oh, the article brought them in, but then once they get there, they're like, oh, Saraf sold a house firm over asking, like, oh, she must be a good realtor. So it's like, that will sort of solidify in their mind. And then I just posted a thing. As I'm wrapping up, I always just like to mention that Keller Williams does also allow me to do this on our phone, just like Realm. So this was a bigger deal before Realm made these changes, but so, on Realm, when you send your listings to your clients, they're actually only seeing your base. They don't get to see the listing. So I urge you to try this out. Share your listings with somebody that you can see their phone or something. And even if they're not signed up for Realm or anything, they will only see your branding and your name and your phone. Like, they will not even get to see the listing. So it prevents a lot of that going behind your back, or because sometimes people like to reach out to the listing agent and be like, oh, what if I don't have another agent? Will you cut me a deal? And the listing agent gets to double end it and stuff. So that's why they've done that. And I'm kind of upset, but Tressa also has put into place that you can't anymore. Like, you can't do both sides. Like, you can't do multiple representation. But yeah, so that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Yeah.
It means if you have a instead of multiple representation, it means if I work here, I can ask you to help me. Is it okay? It means me and you work, one of them listing, one of them
Yeah, that's what people are doing.
from one brokerage.
Mhm.
It's work.
Some people still double in.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what she said how that's how they're doing it. So like, let's say I have a listing.
Maybe she asked from one of your clients.
People also lie, so so you might not know what he's doing, right? Oh, yeah. No, then they used to double end all the time, or like you didn't need to do that. You would just be able to openly double end and you just tick off that box that says multiple representation. But now that Tressa has made those changes, also, feel free to scan my QR code if you want to book a consultation with me, or my digital business card is also on there. But basically, now that Tressa has made these changes, they like, so what the workaround she's talking about is that, let's say I have a listing and I also have a buyer. So on paper, I'm gonna reach out to you, Sonia, and say, hey, do you wanna represent my buyer? I'll give you $1,000, right? And, or I'll give, like, whatever, I'll give you some of it, so that on paper, it shows that 2 different agents have worked on it. But, you know, in reality, it's like, yeah, like the deal is you just get to keep $1,000 and I get.
If you have the digital, how do you do showings? I know. You don't need your card every time you go? I thought that was a.
No. Now, like, even when you like, sorry?
Yeah, other people leave their cards.
It's not a requirement. It's not like it's like, she's right, like, as in, if you don't leave, then, sorry?
They always ask. You go to
For condo, listing, yeah. Yeah, that's. Yeah, and I've still gone around, that because I just show them my RICO and I say like, you know, they just take down your RICO number, so I'll say, you call my brokerage if you want. They do ask, but it's not a requirement by law or like, yeah, it's not mandatory, like, as in, even before I had my digital, because I got my digital card during COVID. So it's this one card, it's not a matter, right? It's this one card, and like you can either scan the QR code, or if it even works if I just tap it, and you'll see all the information that you just got from scanning that. I got it during COVID because obviously people just didn't want to take my card anymore. But I still use it because I just noticed that it's like people are, you know, it's like business cards, they just lay around, and I get less spam calls now because I think I used to leave my business cards everywhere and then random people would